Welcome, class, to Cloud Solutions and API Integrations. I'm the professor, Jeremy Bergman, and this is the guided exercise for Class 2, which is the basics to cloud data engineering and APIs. So in this exercise, what we are going to do is, from start to finish, get data from cryptocurrency AI. So this is API. So this is at livecoinwatch.com. And we have some steps in here to be able to do this. Say first we will sign up for an account on LiveCoinWatch, obtain an API key, which is needed for developers to be able to access REST APIs, like as we discussed in the lecture last night. We also have some different options. We will use the free tier for this class. It gives you plenty of calls to the API without hitting limits to be able to get the data that you need. Next, you'll be understanding the API. We'll go walk through the documentation. We will look at what is required as far as the endpoints are concerned, is the requests and the headers, particularly how you use your API key. We'll go through the main. We'll go through the main. We'll go through the main endpoints also, and some of the bodies and options for each one of those. And then the last step is that we will create a Postman collection here in the web Postman interface. For this exercise, we will not use a AI for this. We will do this at the old-fashioned way, but in a way you'll be able to follow along and be able to set this up yourself, and then eventually use the advantages of something like Cloud API to be able to create a Postman collection for you. So we will take these endpoints and create a Postman collection, and then test these, just make sure that they are getting the data that we need. That the endpoints are returning the response data that we need for analysis. And then finally, we'll put this into JSON. We'll take the JSON, and I have a neat website that will turn that into a spreadsheet for you, a tabular spreadsheet. So we will go ahead and get started with this demo. So one of the big things in this class we're going to use to build an analytical pipeline is using live CoinWatch data. This is a cryptocurrency API. It gives information on various coins and total crypto market cap. It'll have all these coins that you can get information for. I believe that it goes down to the minute. You're able to get those from the API. So an overview, you can see a market overview, things that are trending and so forth. And then, of course, to be able to do your own analysis in data engineering, either as a data scientist, you can go to cryptocurrency APIs and be able to go to the various endpoints and get information that you need for your analysis. Okay. So first we are going to go ahead and sign up for an account. I've already signed up, but I'll go ahead and walk through the steps here. You can use your email account. I'll go ahead and use an email account, personal email account. We'll call this JCrypto. That's what we'll call myself. We'll go ahead and register. It's a success. And as we're going, you can follow along with these directions we have over on the right side. Please check my email. We'll go ahead and do that. Oops. We'll go ahead and do that in the other window. Bring that back up. And before we get too much farther, let's make sure we have sound. I believe we do have sound. Okay. And that is not the account that I want to use. Let me go to my personal email that I signed up with. So let's go ahead, probably likely in a junk email. Nope, don't see it in there. Perhaps in my other. Oop, looks like I have not received it yet. But anyway, if you go through that process of signing up, you should get a confirmation email, pretty standard for signing up for these websites. So we'll go ahead and log in with one of my existing accounts. There we go. And once you do this, you can navigate to the account dashboard. So you have your accounts here. And down here, you should have an option for API access or developer. And then if you click generate key, is that you'll be able to get your API key. You'll want to use this because you'll use this in REST API requests. So we talked about in the lecture, they oftentimes the APIs need some way to verify who you are, for who's accessing the resource. And this is generally the way to do that. Okay, so we'll copy that. So I'm going to show you how this works. That a lot of these websites, they have a playground to be able to better understand the REST APIs. And this one has its own playground. You can copy and paste your key in here. It's already in there for me, or regenerate a key. And you have plenty of calls. You have 9,999. Oftentimes, these have some type of limited number of requests for a free account or a rate limit. This one's pretty generous. So it'll give you 9,000 requests. So you have all sorts of different endpoints. So let's read the docs to understand a little bit more about these REST APIs. Okay. So we'd go down to resources. So there's one endpoint that's a status to find out the current status of the API. So if it's up or down, or if it has any problems. The number of credits that you have. Overview, get a current aggregated data for all coins. This would be like your total market cap. So this would be your current aggregated. This would be as of the moment, current moment that you're calling the API. And then you see there are some parameters that you can use. It starts to tell you, if you do this with Python, this is probably the one that's most readable for us, is that here's your endpoint, here's your headers. You're telling it you want JSON content and your API key. Then you post, and then you print response. We'll end up doing this. We'll end up doing this inside of Postman, but it gives us an idea of what's needed in the headers. It's pretty straightforward request, actually, and it's just a post request to be able to get this data back. So then we have an overview. Pretty straightforward request. Overview history. So in this one, you would tell it in the body of the request what currency you want. So this is USD coin, US dollars. You could do BTC for Bitcoin and so forth. And the start and the end date. This is a Unix time. So not your standard time, but it'll give you quotes between that starting and ending point. Right? You can get information about a single coin at the latest moment of time. This is what the response data is going to look like. So you get information. If you're looking at Ethereum, you'll get this information back about that coin. Contract gives all information about a single coin at the latest moment in time. So this is USD on a given platform. Yeah, platform code. So this would be USD on the Ethereum network at this given address. You have a hexadecimal address or a contract address. More specifically, there's a lot that goes into Ethereum. You probably won't look at smart contracts in this class. You can get a history for a single coin. This is one that you'll use a lot, especially to build a model with. You can get a list of all the available coins. Sorted information for a custom map of coins. Let's see, this should give us 3 coins that we specifically request. So you can get multiple at the same time. And these are all GET requests to get information. You can get information on fiat. That would be if you wanted to convert it into a different currency. Single exchange and then exchange information. That's generally where you trade coins on something like Coinbase. Okay, so that's one of our first steps, is that we always go out to the documentation to understand a little bit better what is available to us, especially from a data science perspective. What data is available to us to be able to do our analysis? Okay. So they have a playground so you can actually test some of this information. So they even have the list of coins that you can get. So if we just want to get a history, hey, we want to get Bitcoin history at the starting and ending timestamp. We'll just do that and see what happens. So you see that we're going to get multiple dates with the cap and the volume, liquidity, and then BTC dominance. Trying to see which one here has the price. 84, this is increasing. 86 has the total market cap, but let's see if we can get one that has a price in it too. Coin single history. Let's do that one. Date rate. Your rate would be your current price. So it's currently at 95,000. So let's use this coin single history API to start. Okay. So now if we wanted to take this information, we're on the free tier currently. We're working through the APIs to understand what the different endpoints do. We have our API key. And let's go ahead, before we take a look at this in JSON and try to produce tabular format, let's go ahead and create our Postman collection using this endpoint. So we're going to do that for this overview history. All right. So what we want to do here, we don't actually have a collection for this, so we'll go ahead and create a new collection. Blank collection. We'll call this one live coin watch API. Okay. Oops. And what we can do at the very beginning is that we can set an environment variable. We can just use that API without key without having to copy and paste it a bunch of places. So let's go ahead and do that. So we will go ahead. In here, we will look for environments. Maybe I think it might be an edit. Collection details. No environment. Let's create an environment. New environment. Live coin watch. API env. And then we could do, in here it was in the documentation to be able to create a variable and then your API key. Let's just call this variable X API key to be able to know what to call it. The current value is your API key. I have to go back into this playground to get the API key. Okay, so current value. Now we can use this as a variable within our collection. So let's go ahead and add a request now. So let's see, new variable. Okay, we've added the variable. Input your API as a key variable. So we're going to get, remember all these are post. So we're going to send it information to be able to get back the information that we need. The API will return the crypto information that we want. So our key, import, so we can do X API key. This is where we'll do one of our parameters. It'll end up going in the header. Actually, we don't want it there. I believe we want it here instead. So we will say X API key. And then we can refer to this by variable name. Oops, for some reason it didn't do that, but now we've created that variable. That should work, that we could use a bunch of different places. We want to be able to go to get the coin history. So we will use this endpoint, live coin watch, the coins history. Overview history, coins, single history. Here's the URL. Okay, no parameters on this one. Sometimes you would add additional parameters like we saw in the last lecture, maybe an ID or something like that. You specify all of those in the body of this request, but occasionally you'll do that. So what else do we need here? We also need content type in the header, application JSON, content type. We'll get rid of some of this here in a second. Application JSON. Okay, that's the value. This is telling us the REST API in the header, what type of information we want as the content type. So by default, it has a bunch of additional headers here. In Postman, I wouldn't worry about those unless the API doesn't like it. And we could probably even take those out. It's okay. if it will allow me to. Okay. Should be okay. And then we're just sending the 2 headers that it needs in the body of our request. We want to do raw JSON. We can send this information. And let's go ahead and give this a try. If it's successful, it'll return 200 code. Otherwise, it'll send one of these other HTTP error codes. Let's go ahead and give this a try. There we go. It worked. So we can see test results, 200 okay. The request was successful. And here's the body of the response. So go ahead and save response. You don't have to, but you can look at the response later. Let's give this new request a name. Let's call it single coin history. So now inside of our collection, we have this get that's single coin history. And then we even save this output here. So just for example purposes, what if we did a mistypo in here? We send a request. It actually still said it was okay. It just didn't return anything because it couldn't find the code. What if we send a string here instead of a number? That's likely. I bet that will throw an error. Error code, bad request, invalid start date. So we got a code 400 back. So what if we just don't even have an authorization token? We should end up getting invalid API key, like a 401. So if we take out this header temporarily, send the request and see what happens. 401 unauthorized. You're missing an API key header. So it'll end up giving you a fairly descriptive answer response. But good APIs do that. And it'll help you troubleshoot and figure it out. So now that we have this, we can go back in here and run it any time. We can even generate code, Python code, different types of code. That's really helpful in different ways, whatever you're using. That's one of my favorite features. You can put comments in it, document it, so forth. But let's go ahead as data engineers. Let's go ahead and copy this. So there's a website. I had a couple listed in the lecture where you can parse the JSON, but I also use one. Oop, not JSON to Excel. It knew what I was talking about, though. This Geeks for Geeks online JSON to Excel converter. So this can be really helpful. This actually isn't the one that I usually use. Maybe it helps to even visualize this first. So let's see if my favorite JSON parser works today. It doesn't look like it. So we'll go to JSON formatter as we did in the lecture. Okay, there we go. And then it gave us some parsed information. Each one of these, you have history. It has 96 records. Each one of these is a single record, date, rate, volume, has multiple records contained in it. This API limits you to getting 100 records back at the same time. So as you're putting together data, you may have to do multiple requests to get all the data that you need. Just a heads up, you will have to do that, but we'll be able, as data engineers, we can do that. We can write code or just do it multiple times. And that'll be part of the homework assignment. And then we could even convert this to Excel. So let's see how this looks. My graduation year. Don't want to do that. I'm not sure if that worked or not. Okay, I'll put that XLSX. I believe it did. Oop, it said on my other screen, it said it's not valid. So let's give this one a different try. I do have this bookmark somewhere. See if I recognize. And what will be good as we go through the class, you have some built-in tools to automatically convert this. You can build pipeline and be able to convert this into what you need. Let's see if we can convert this into the CSV. Sometimes that's even more useful. Oh yeah, here we go. So select your input, create output options. This one's really nifty. And then it creates a header row and then all of your 96 records. And then you could do JSON to CSV or JSON to CSV or Excel. Let's go ahead and try to convert that to that, tabulates it. There are a lot of nice tools to be able to do this, so you don't always have to write Python code. You could write Python code to do this. Now that's like perfect for AI to be able to do that. You could even give it AI the JSON file and say parse this JSON file and put it in a pandas data set, or like parse it and create this table. That's definitely where I would use AI at. All right. So we have this table now, history and date, volume, cap, and liquidity. So pretty neat. That's start from finish, how to be able to get data. You'll do this on your assignment. Yeah, their support resources. And the next steps is that we'll take this data and then we'll obtain the data that we need. First, in our current homework, we'll put this into an Excel sheet, reproducing an Excel sheet that I created. And then after that, we'll create automated pipelines to be able to get new data, generate model. So exciting. That's it. That's a demo for this using the Live Coin Watch API, I hope, and Postman. I hope it's helpful. Of course, use generative AI where you can, but this is the steps that are involved in working with APIs, as we saw in class. Hopefully it helps. Thanks, class.